Hey everybody, it's Eric with What's in the Box. We're doing the interviews for Texas Horror Lit Fest, and get kind of a get to know the authors that are going to be at the event. And today we have Jeff with us. Um, I'm going to apologize. I figured I would just slaughter your last name if I tried. If you want to tell us your full name, that'd be awesome.
My name is Jeff Folschinsky.
Yeah, I would have killed it. I would have left out some of those. I never could tell what's supposed to be said and what's not. It's a great name though. My son.
Well, there's a simple way that I learned when I was a kid. It's like I hurt my shin while I was skiing.
Perfect.
Folschinsky.
Yeah, that's it. That's awesome. Um, so we're doing these interviews so everybody kind of gets an opportunity to share what they're doing and what they have at the table, but also answer some general horror questions, kind of get to know you a little bit. And the question now we used to do these. I don't know if you ever saw any of them with the Texas Author Con.
Yeah.
We that event had been done, and so the first question we always ask people: Freddie, Jason, Michael, who's your favorite?
I mean, I love Michael, but I'm gonna go with Jason just because that was my childhood right there.
Right? Yeah. Well, I mean, Jason's my guy too, but I
Yeah.
get why people, and look, I'm even wearing a Halloween shirt. So,
Yeah.
but I'm always bagging on Michael. Um, but yeah, Jason was the guy I grew up with. He's the kind of the guy that I understand. What's funny is we always introduced it initially as just Jason or Michael, but we would have so many people say, well, if Freddie was on the list, I'd pick Freddie. So we threw him on the list just in case. But my argument is Freddie's really great in two movies, but Jason's consistently solid through all of his movies. So
Yeah, and the same could be said for Michael Myers too. I mean, I loved the first two movies, and then after that, it just to me it just got silly.
number three is one of my favorites, but of course, no
Uh,
Michael at all. So
yeah, I think if they took Halloween off of that and just called that movie Season of the Witch, we'd probably be talking about it in a better light than people usually do now.
yeah, I think a lot more people would respect it. I know there are some diehards that don't want anything to do with it, but I also know that it's one of the more popular ones. When you do talk to people that aren't huge Michael fans, almost everybody, those people love Season of the Witch and
Yeah,
wish the series would have been what it was supposed to be, an anthology series and
yeah,
not a
definitely.
Michael series. So, do you have a favorite Jason movie?
Um, I'm gonna get the numbers messed up, but it was the one where he was fighting the girl with telekinesis.
Oh, seven. Yeah.
It's seven. Yeah, seven. Um,
The
that one
New
was
Blood.
just, yeah, yeah, New Blood. Yeah, that was bonkers.
Yeah, no, it
I
was really
love that
cool.
film.
It was cool how they integrated everything. Just the telekinesis, the supernatural elements to make it go with the fact that Jason was now a supernatural creature.
Yeah,
Reborn in six, he is no longer really whatever the stalker in the woods. He's more of a supernatural entity, and so it really was kind of cool to see him go head to head with somebody who actually could pack a punch without having to lift a finger. So
yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, they kind of shook it up a little bit. I mean, they definitely got. I think after that, though, it was kind of like, isn't that the one afterwards? He ended up in
yeah.
Manhattan.
Well, that's also where you could look and see that's kind of when Paramount stepped out. And I think they sold the rights to New Line or whoever was the next one to start doing them. And that's why none of those other ones afterwards say Friday the 13th. It just says Jason Takes Manhattan.
Oh,
Was
really?
because they wouldn't let them have the Friday the 13th name, if I'm remembering. I'm sure somebody will scream in the comments if I'm talking out of my ass, but I'm pretty sure that's the point when Paramount, they're still getting kickbacks, but they're not quite as they wanted it out. They wanted to get out of the Friday the 13th. They wanted the
Yeah,
money, but they didn't want the headache of making them. So
yeah, it's weird how these films jump. It was like the first Child's Play what was with I think Paramount, or was it Paramount? But I know it jumped over to Universal after that.
yeah, it's who will make the next one. Oh, the one with the ball. I'm trying to. Phantasm. Phantasm's the same thing. It went from
Oh yeah,
studio to studio to studio
yeah.
because somebody was still willing to make it, just not the company that started it. Which,
But
money. All you have to do is follow the money, and then usually you can figure out why people aren't doing what they're doing.
yeah,
So,
well, they
um,
get a good payday from them.
oh, for sure, right? And I'm just happy that some of these got to continue because
Yeah,
um, some of these are, especially from our childhood. I grew up in the '80s, so that was like the peak of a lot of these amazing franchises, and we got to see the good and the bad. But I was just happy they were making them. So,
yeah, me too.
so next up, we have a favorite cryptid or creature.
A favorite
Like if you have a
cryptid.
favorite cryptid character, or anything, or a creature
I,
that maybe isn't considered a cryptid, but is a monster of some kind.
I mean, cryptid. I have to go with Bigfoot. I mean, I love a good Bigfoot
Yep,
story.
the classic.
I mean, if we're going mythology, I'm sucker for anything werewolf.
Yeah, yeah, and werewolf's fine too. If that's the creature you would rather go to. I love a good werewolf story. I find it's hard to find one in books, but the movies take care of them
Yeah.
so well.
Mm.
So, is there a particular werewolf movie or book that you lean towards that you think this is the one that the way it should be?
But the movies, The Howling. I
Mhm.
mean, I remember saying that as a kid. And I was like, whoa. I mean, this is heresy, but I kind of I actually enjoyed that over American Werewolf and, London.
No, I totally get it
Uh,
because it's way more action packed, and you
yeah.
have a pack of werewolves, so you got a little bit more going on, and the story's a little more, I guess, inversive in the werewolf lore than American is.
Yeah.
That it has the great transformation, and it does have some really killer special effects, and it's funny, but I don't know if it's a totally different kind of werewolf picture than Howling. So, have
Yeah.
you ever seen Dog Soldiers?
Yes, I love Dog
So I think
Soldiers.
Dog Soldiers and Howling kind
Uh,
of go hand in
yeah.
hand. They're both action
Yeah.
packed, and you kind of get a little bit more of the hierarchy within the pack and all that kind of stuff. Um, American Werewolf in London kind of has more of that lost soul trying to deal
Yeah.
with the
I
curse
mean, it's
kind of idea.
kind of a gothic romance kind of thing
Yeah,
going
for
on.
sure.
It's like The Howling was just really, to me, was more of a horror movie. It's like starts off with a killer, and then find out that, he's a werewolf from a colony of werewolves that ends up at. So,
Yeah, right. Bad luck for her. So, and also it's one of the few, even though the book is drastically different than the movie, it's one of the few werewolf books that I feel like hits, like is done correctly. And from start to finish, it's a really good book. There's so few where Donna and I tried to do a series of werewolf books, and I can't tell you how many we started and ended up, DNRing because they just couldn't do it. They didn't hold
yeah,
your attention long enough to get interested in any of the stories. So
yeah,
there's a handful of them though out there that are really really good. So it's one of those weird subgenres that, unlike vampires, which I feel like everybody does vampire stuff, it just very rarely do I come across somebody who can do a werewolf story well.
yeah. I mean, I think it's a fine line between, it's like I think vampires, zombies, stuff like that. I mean, the character is fairly easy. I mean, with a werewolf, it's kind of like a fine line of you've got the person, either the person's transformed and it's a wolf, and you can't you can only do so much with that, or you're dealing with them dealing with the fact of being a werewolf.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think we're just revisiting the same ideas over and over again.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
tell
have
you
a?
what, it's a
Oh, say
I
go
tell you
ahead.
what, I tell you what's a good werewolf novel, not necessarily horror, more action, is The Wolf's Hour
Oh
by
yeah,
Robert McCammon.
it's one of the few that we finished, and
Oh, really?
Don and I had the opinion that it's a great World War II novel,
Yeah.
and it just happens to have a guy that can become a wolf in it. It wasn't
Oh,
really a
yeah.
werewolf book as much as it was this amazing spy military drama. And we really, we enjoyed that aspect of it. But there was a couple times where I was disappointed he didn't use his wolf powers to really just kind of go after the Nazis and stuff, you know.
Yeah. especially
But
with that great opening.
oh yeah, yeah, right. It sets you up to think, oh,
Mhm.
we're about to really go into it. And then it really turns into like a book like I really enjoy, like like a Nelson DeMille or James Rollins, one of those
Yeah.
kind of action authors. It pretty much captured that vibe, I thought. I haven't read the sequel, so I don't know if maybe it changes in the sequel and then the two books together might give you a different opinion. But when I walked away from that one, that's one of the ones where I really enjoyed the book, but I didn't see it as much as the werewolf thing, as more as the werewolf just happened to be one of his things. Like it was like, oh, he's a
Yeah.
smoker, he drinks, and he can turn into a werewolf. It's just that's his character.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
um,
no, that's legit.
um, do you prefer when they transform to be semi-humanoid, or do you prefer that they go full wolf?
I go back and forth about that. I mean, I think it in the when they go full wolf, it's almost like I buy it a little bit better. It's like when they go humanoid wolf, I don't. It just seems sometimes the effect seems silly,
Mm.
in an otherwise good movie.
Yeah, I can totally see that. Yeah. That's one of the things I love about the werewolf movie is the if depending on who's doing the makeup and the special effects, especially in the old days when they didn't have the opportunity to cheat a little bit. I feel like it's cheapened a little bit with CGI.
Yeah,
Some of
yeah,
the newer stuff, it kind of just the transformations aren't as cool because it's all digital, and then the actual beast itself is all computerized, and then you kind of lose a little bit of that connection with it being like because the actors aren't really there doing their things. So I do sometimes feel like some of the newer movies they lose touch with what they were doing. So some of the old ones may look a little hokier, but they hit harder because
yeah,
everything is right there and the makeup was done pretty well. um,
yeah. I remember growing up. There was a when Fox television first started coming
mhm.
around, and they had a series called Werewolf.
Yeah.
I remember that werewolf though. It was just like, holy cow, this thing is scary.
Yeah,
Uh,
especially since it's a TV show. We weren't really. It's really cool about that. In the 80s and 90s, you would get those shows. Freddie would have a show. Friday 13th had a
yeah,
show. The Werewolf Show, and they would pop on, and you maybe get a season or two. I think Freddie went a little bit longer, but they were trying to capture that vibe of Twilight
yeah,
Zone and Night Gallery and all that fun stuff with a little bit of a sharper
mhm,
edge. But the problem is because it was on TV, we didn't get the sharper edge as much, even though it was late night. They still had so many restrictions,
yeah,
um, which is funny because you talk to younger people today, and everything's on Netflix or HBO or whatever, and it's immediately hardcore, violent, and full of sex and
yeah.
stuff. And it's like, nah, you couldn't do that back in the day. Your hands were tied. None of this existed. HBO was around, but they didn't make TV shows like that. They made like three comedies that I can think of off the top of my head, and that was just about it. Nothing was top budget until Sopranos came around in the 90s. So, um,
Yeah.
and then so we're on to the last question, and it's a big one. Is there a book or an author that kind of inspired you to start writing?
Um, I don't know if it's any particular book or author. I loved, well, I mean, this is just going to be obvious, but I mean, it was like I love Stephen King,
Mhm.
Robert R. McCammon, Dean Koontz, stuff like that. It's like I think I started reading. My mom used to be part of a book of the month club,
Oh,
when
that's
we were
cool.
growing up, and so she got Stephen King books, and she just was just a incredibly quick reader. So she'd read it and she'd throw it to the side. So me and my sisters would be walking by going, "Oh, what's this?" And so we're like, I think Thinner was the
Oh
first one
yeah,
I read. And I was
very
like,
cool.
what is this? This is
Yeah,
awesome.
and it had a really striking cover, if I remember correctly. The early ones did.
Yeah. Like half his face was like a
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great one. And yeah, I mean, it's hard not to point to King, especially for writers our age. Can you hear that? Felicity's throwing a fit downstairs because nobody's paying attention to her.
no. No,
Okay,
no.
good. There's a lot of
It's,
dog action going on downstairs. The Huskies are getting wound up.
I
Um,
happen to have mine like right just out of frame here.
oh
I'm
yeah,
just very curious on what I'm doing.
right. Yeah, I left the girls downstairs, and there's a barrier, so the cat has a place to hide. So she's downstairs right now throwing a fit. Um, but yeah, to get back to that, I mean, King is kind of a king, right? I mean, in the
Yeah,
early days, it's really what we had. Now, I think that's awesome though that you've expanded. I just now really getting into Kuntz. I never got into
yeah,
him early, so I think last year, maybe the year before, at the end, I read Phantoms for the first time,
yeah.
and then I'm in the middle of Midnight, and those are the first two Kuntz I've read.
Those are the good ones to have. I mean, Midnight, I think was well, actually, I think it was Watchers
Yeah, I was just say
was the
Watchers
first
is
one.
one I hear about.
That's the first one I read, and then I got Midnight and the Phantoms, and there was a slew of others, but those are the big threes that really kind of
Well, I mean, what has he got? Like 17 million books. It seems like
yeah.
if you go to a horror section at a used bookstore, it's 90% King and Kuntz, and then if you're lucky, you'll find some of the other guys. So, well, then if it's not just anybody in particular, was there some what made you decide, hey, I'm going to start putting pen to paper?
I just love writing, so and I was like I wasn't really reading I really wasn't finding things I like to read. I love the cheesy horror movies
Hmm.
and the B movies and the things like that. And I guess I just wasn't finding that in written form. So it's not to sound egotistical, but I was just like, well, I'll just write what I think I'll enjoy reading
Right. Yeah, no,
and
that's a great
see
way to approach it.
and and see if someone else comes along with the ride. And fortunately, I've just sort of had a really good, reaction to what I was doing. I mean, I started off, believe it or not, I was in, I'm in Texas. I'm down in Houston, Texas now, but I was in LA for a while working out there. And for a while, I got involved with a theater group, so I was writing a lot of plays.
Oh, that's cool.
So when I wanted to take some of the lessons learned that from watching an audience, seeing
Hmm.
the stuff, the timing, and the stuff that I got down because I primarily write horror comedy and mix that genre, mix those two genres together. So I wanted to take lessons learned I had from doing all those theaters and see if I could put it into prose and books forms. So that's just really what got me going. I started with doing short story. I gave myself a challenge. Started like a WordPress page,
Hmm.
and I was like, I'm gonna write a story. I was gonna write a story a week, and I like kind of tamed that down to like do a story like every couple of weeks, if not a month, and for a year, and just try to get just learn from each time I do it and try to get better and better and better and try to slowly lengthen out what I'm writing. And slowly I did. And then I ended up going into my first book series and then, learned a lot from that. And then during the pandemic, I was like, well, I've got some of these screenplays and stuff like that I think they're really great ideas that no one's going to see the light of day. Let me take that idea and let me novelize it and just see what happens. And then fortunately, K Trap Jones,
I was going to
who
ask
is a
you. I was going to ask you because I saw the covers. Those are K Trap covers.
yeah, yeah, I'm with his publishing company,
Evil
the Evil
Cookie.
Cookie Pookie
Yeah.
Publishing. So I sent it to him, and he sent me a thing, going back, going, I love this. I want, yes, definitely, let's do this. And so did the first book, and then the next year did another one, and now last year I've done my third book with him.
Very cool. Yeah, K Trap's awesome. So, but yeah, as soon as I saw those covers, I was like, oh, that's a question I'm gonna have to ask because I could see it. I know he's let a couple out, so I wasn't 100% sure if you were under Evil Cookie or if you had just got lucky enough to be one of the people he did a cover for outside of the Evil Cookie family. So that's
Yeah,
very cool.
I love his artwork. I mean,
Oh
it's
yeah.
just And when I'm at my table, I mean, it is one of the things that people kind of come in going, I've got to take a look at this. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it catches your eye. And once you know it, you can't mistake it. No, nobody else does it like K-Trap. So
Yeah, he's got a very distinctive style. It's like I've met a few other evil cookie authors, and I look at their books, and I'm like, K Trap, K Trap,
mhm.
K Trap. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really cool. I think that's awesome. Um, so speaking of your books, what are we going to have at the table? What can people expect when they walk up?
Okay, so I'm going to start with the first one. We've got Mr. Jacobs versus the demonic clowns from the great beyond. And then I have this is what I call my unintentional series. I
Okay.
didn't realize I was writing a series until I was into the second book, and I was like, I could not come up with an ending. So I used some characters from this book as sort of an epilogue for that
Hmm.
book. And I was like, oh crap, this really fits really well. And I was like, well, I guess it's a series.
Yeah, right. I mean,
So
it's happy accident, but that's cool.
yeah, so it kind of leads into the second one here, Hell Incorporated. And then the third book I have through the series, A Fool's Guide to the Undead. So these three will, this is what I call my Mystery Spot Museum and Burrito Emporium series.
Very
And
cool.
if you read the books, you'll understand that. And then I'm going to have the first book from the first series I was had coming out, Tales from Little Lump, Alien Season.
Very cool.
So this is a there's like a little tale of aliens come down on an intergalactic mission of peace, but the folks from Little Lump didn't get the memo, and all you know what breaks loose.
Very funny. Yeah, I can see the comedy already unfolding right there. So, and I think that's a perfect pairing. It's not easy to do though. I know a lot of people try and they fail. So it's cool that you have got this down, the comedy and the horror, being able to capture both in the stuff. I'm real excited to check them out. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, take away the covers, even I'm still, the covers pull me in, but the idea of what you've got going on, it sounds very interesting. So I'm excited to swing by and check them out. So,
That is awesome. Well, I always just say, it's like have a little fun with your genre.
oh, for sure, yeah. Um, let's see. So, just the information for the folks: Texas Horror Lit Fest is going to be June 27th, 28th, both days 10 to 6. It's a free event, although parking, they do charge for parking at the Irving Convention Center where it's going to be. There's a Facebook page and a website and a place where you can get a free ticket, so that you can let everybody know you're coming. And also, I think they're going to be used for door prizes. So you might want to sign up just in case. I'll have links down below in the information, not only of all that information, but where you can find Jeff's books on. Do you have a website?
Uh, yeah, it's
Well, I'll put a link down
yeah,
on your
yeah,
website and for Amazon, and that way people can click and check it out
yeah,
and either order it or come see you if they come to the event. Um,
yeah. Come by, say hi. I'd love to talk to you.
yeah, I appreciate you popping on,
Yeah, this is fun. Great. Thanks for having me.
and everybody take it easy.